Welcome, welcome, welcome. In Ghana, we say Akwaba. Welcome to the Frank Shito Show, where we talk about cultures and history from Ghana while we relate them with cultures and history from around the world. Today, we're going to be focusing on Ghana. I put together a comprehensive summary about Ghana. So, most of the things you will want to know about Ghana is in this episode. I titled this Ghana to the World. You see me rocking our retro Ghana jersey? Right. So, I did this with love, so I know you're going to enjoy it. Frank Shitter Show. Don't forget to put that shitter on anything. Welcome. Ghana. Welcome once again. Akwa Bibium, Ghana to the Wiase, Ghana to the world. We're going to begin our journey in 2019 when the government of Ghana, in collaboration with other social groups, decided to launch this initiative they call the Year of Return. The Year of Return is a gesture by the country Ghana to invite people of African descent. If you feel African, Ghana is inviting you to come home. Brefie, come home. So it's for you to, come home, whether you want to visit, whether you want to do any business or even relocate. Before you relocate, make sure you, go there a couple of times so you get a feel of what you're going to get yourself into. You know what I'm saying? Right. So the Year of Return marks the 400th anniversary of when the first sailing ships containing slaves from West Africa docked in Jamestown, Virginia. So that is what the Year of Return is. So after the Year of Return, we have Beyond the Return. So Ghana is a hot spot because of that. People travel from Europe, the Americas, North and South, and other parts of the world to visit Ghana. It's made Accra a very, very hot spot. I'm sure probably, Christmas is the hottest spot in the world because everyone is going to Ghana, right? So that is the Year of Return and Beyond the Return. So this brings me to 2021 when they hold this concert every year now, especially in December, called Afrochella. They invited Ari Lennox to come perform. She's a singer, beautiful black woman. She's Grammy nominated, right? So she visited Ghana, she performed, toured the place, fell in love with the place, right? So she felt so much at home. I'm sure seeing a lot of black people around, made her feel more welcome, right? But she put out a tweet and she said, "Wow, it's a rare and a good feeling to consistently wake up with peace and happiness. I really owe that to Ghana. I'll never forget suddenly crying the first time going to a beach in Ghana. It was so triggering and I didn't feel alone. My heart aches for my ancestors." So obviously this was a psychic response, that she had. Looking at the beaches, it's going to trigger a memory of, the sailing ships leaving those same beaches. So it's a legitimate feeling, but a lot of Ghanaians saw that to be courting attention. Ghanaians are very quick to think you're seeking attention when you put yourself out there. So that resulted in a backlash from Ghana Twitter in response to her tweet. And she also tweeted in response that to the backlash that my heart hasn't changed. Nobody can take the peace I felt away from me. We have a saying in Ghana that it's your yonko it's your dim. So for instance, let's say a nail. If a nail is driven with a hammer into your neighbor, it feels as though it's driven into a tree. But that shouldn't be so. This talks about how insensitive sometimes society can be toward one of their members. But it's important to note that she received more love from Ghana Twitter than the harsh treatment. Check out Refinery 21 to learn more about this kind of sentiments. The title of that particular blog is In Defense of Ari Lennox. I remember talking with this Black American, and I referred to myself as Black in the conversation. And he said, "You ain't Black, you African." And it was funny and shocking to me at the same time, because in Ghana we refer to ourselves commonly as Black people. So because we're Black, anyone who's not Black is white. Whether you're a Latino, Middle Eastern, Asian, European, we consider you white because you're not Black. So it was shocking. Like, even the word African is foreign to Africans. It has Greek and Latin and even some Phoenician origin other than African, right? So the word African is not even African, but right now it's accepted, right? The continent is called Africa and whatnot, but in our local languages we refer to ourselves as Black people. Some people see it to connote something negative or dark or evil or even superstitiously evil. So they like to not refer to themselves as Black, but come on, it's a color. That's how I see it. If you feel different, that is your cup of tea, right? But anyway, he was even mixed, and he was telling me that I'm not Black, and that is funny, but that is his genuine ignorance, right? No fault here. Let's move on. Now let's talk about the geographical location of Ghana. It's important to note the prime meridian. The prime meridian, or the longitude 0, right? 0 degrees. The longitudes connotes the time zones that we have, in the world. So the prime meridian cuts through Ghana. And because it's longitude 0 degrees, Ghana's time zone is 0, or GMT, which is Greenwich Meridian Time. Anything on the east of Ghana is plus. So for instance, India is +5. Anything on the west is a minus, which means Texas is -5. So when it's 4 p.m. in Ghana, it's 9 p.m. in India, and it's 11 a.m. in Texas. Note the time difference when it comes to daylight savings, right? Another thing to note when it comes to the geographical location of Ghana is the equator. The equator cuts or divides the world into two halves, the northern and the southern, right? And it cuts through the Gulf of Guinea. The Gulf of Guinea is the sea that reaches West Africa. Quick question. If you're on the equator, in which direction does the toilet water swirl when you flush it? This is a question for the gods. So the intersection of the prime meridian, or the Greenwich Meridian, and the equator is in the Gulf of Guinea, and Ghana is sitting right on top of it. So Ghana is the country closest to the middle of the globe when we're using the prime meridian and the equator. So Ghana is the heart of the world, the gateway to Africa, right? Very interesting. Some mystics and some psychics like to believe that because of that location, there's a psychic energy in that area. That's not my cup of tea, right? So if it is for you, you can visit there and check it out. Anyway, I wanted to say something, but let's continue. So that is where Ghana is located. It's easy to find on the map. Use the prime meridian and the equator. Because of this location of Ghana along the equator makes it tropical. It has a tropical climate. It's fairly humid. I didn't understand the concept of humidity till I, moved to the United States, and it's a big thing here. I don't like the humidity. It's hot, but the humidity is bad. Blah blah blah. In Ghana, when you're stepping out, you only care about two things: is it gonna rain or not? Anything else, we don't really care about it that much. But that is the situation. It's drier in the top half of Ghana and more humid in the southern part of Ghana. Before you visit, check out, the period that you're visiting. Look at the climate during that time and dress appropriately, accordingly. Shorts and shirt can take you through the year. In Ghana, we don't change our wardrobe or our closet like people do in other parts of the country, because the weather is almost the same. You have rains or not. That's how it has. We have two weather conditions: dry or wet. Let's move on. Let's go back to talk about what Ghana means to you. Brings me to Uncle Steve Harvey. Mad respect for you. He made a joke about Ghana. He said, in Ghana, traveling on the roads, you can buy anything from a washing machine or anything on the roads, because we have, street hawkers, on the road selling stuff, right? He visited the Elmina Castle along with the other castles, and I covered the history of the Elmina Castle and Portugal versus Ghana. But anyway, to see a tall man like him, overwhelmed by compassion and emotion when he visited the Elmina castles, especially the dungeons where the former slaves were kept, he was really, it brought him to tears, and I felt that. I've also visited those dungeons, and it's very, very, very overwhelming. And the fact that it brought him to tears shows how human he is and how he connects with the situation. And that is what Ghana means to him. He had mad fun in Ghana. He even held an episode of, I don't know whether it was 1 or 2, of his Family Feud. And the popular takeaway for me was the accent. He didn't get it when someone was saying anga, anga, anga. He was like, what? Oh, anger. We get it a lot. Since we moved to the United States, we get it a lot. An accent, accents issues. But we have to adjust, right? Ghana to the world. Also, check out Tim Coco. He visited Ghana as well. Conan O'Brien, he did a lot of funny things in Ghana. He liked to appear a little clueless, but that's what he does. And he also had a lot of fun. He has a series of videos on his visit to Ghana. You can check it out on YouTube. And I like to see the fact that the camera settings wasn't really favoring him, so he looked more overexposed in the shots during his time in Ghana, and it was just funny for me. So people like also T.I. visited Ghana during the year of return and beyond the return. Nice videos out there. Check out. Most of your celebrities have passed through Ghana, because now Ghana is the hot spot when it comes to culture. Now let's check out a little history. Where did Ghana get its name? It was formerly known as the Gold Coast because the Europeans got a lot of gold from that region. Back in the day, the Europeans will name the coast after what they got primarily from that region. So you have Ivory Coast, Costa de Marfil, or Côte d'Ivoire, and you also have Ghana, the Gold Coast because of the gold, and you also have the Slave Coast. The Slave Coast is usually not talked about that much, but it occupied the eastern part of Ghana all the way to through the Ouida or in Benin, and even some eastern parts of Nigeria. So after independence, the president changed the name from Gold Coast to Ghana after the name of the old Ghana Empire, because most of its tribes or ethnic groups migrated from the ancient Ghana Empire. So it's only right. Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, he was very influential in the fight for independence for Ghana. So he, together with the other people he worked with, gained independence on the 6th of March 1957. So Ghana is 65 years. Compared that to the United States, which is 245 years. So Ghana is the first sub-Saharan African country to gain independence. And our flag is red, gold, green with a black star in the middle, right? And we got the inspiration for this flag from Ethiopia, because Kwame Nkrumah had a good relationship with Haile Selassie, and because also the fact that Ethiopia is the only African country that was never colonized, Nkrumah drew inspiration from that. So it flipped the Ethiopian flag, and put the red on top. but still the red, gold, green. Dr. Nkrumah also played a major role in most of the West African countries gaining their independence. That's why you see a lot of red, yellow, green flags, and the green star, blue star, red star, yellow star, because of the influence that Nkrumah and Ghana had when it comes to the independence of those other nations. So we have a variance, because he also had the hope to unite all of Africa, because he said that the independence of Ghana is meaningless unless all the African states are also liberated economically, politically, and so on. So that's why we have this running theme of red, yellow, green in the flags of most of the West African countries.
Our independence is meaningless unless it is linked up with the total liberation of the African continent.
Now let's talk about ethnicity in Ghana. It's easy for you to see all Ghanaians as black as the same, but in Ghana, it's easy to spot certain people, to spot their tribes or ethnic groups that they come from just by looking at them or even listening to them. We see a lot of diversity, but we are still all one people. So let's talk about the ethnicities in Ghana, or the ethnic groups in Ghana. Before I go into that, just note that you have ethnic group as the parent thing, and under it we have tribes. So the tribes form an ethnic group, and all the tribes usually have things in common. Some of their languages or dialects are not mutually intelligible. Sometimes you can't even understand what the other person is saying, and the languages are still maintained. The tribes are many, but they're all grouped into about 9 ethnic groups. We have the Akan ethnic group. The Akan ethnic group is about 47.5%. The Mole Dagbon ranks number 2, and it's 16%. And then we have the Evis, which is about 13.9%. Then the Gans. The Gans are the traditional custodians of the lands in the capital. And we have the Groma people, the Guans. The Guans are the aborigines or the original settlers of the region of Ghana, the original settlers before other people came. The Gonjas are also Guans, and it goes on. We have the Grusi people, the Kusasi, and the Konkomba people as well. Now let's talk about some musical diversity. Ghana's music scene is very diverse. I know I'm repeating it, but there was even a time that reggae and dancehall ruled Ghana music. Shatawale and Stone Boy, including Samini. R.I.P. to Ronnie Coaches, Sonny Bali, and Yogi Dogi is still alive though. But respect to Yogi Dogi. They spearheaded the music genre of dancehall and reggae in Ghana, and we also have Afro beats. We participate in that too. Ghana does a lot of high life and hip life. Hip life comes from high life, and high life is heavily influenced by Caribbean music back in historical times. People don't know about it. I cover it in another episode, but it's a mixture of Caribbean influence and local folk music, and the folk music are still played, and they sound very different depending on the location or the region you are in Ghana, and it goes on and on. Kendrick Lamar was in Ghana before and during the launch of his album in 2022, and to see him playing soccer and stuff like that was just interesting. I'm sure he felt at home as well. As Sheeran, he loves the heck out of Ghana. It's so beautiful to see that a British has fallen much in love with Ghana like he did, and he even has a tattoo on one of the side of his ribs. I don't know which part, but he has a tattoo of the flag of Ghana, red, gold, green, and even the black star to express his love for Ghana. He says that he was talked out of relocating to Ghana by his manager because he was so infatuated with that idea that he wanted to move his whole family, including himself, to Ghana. to buy a house and stuff like that. But he also narrates that going to Ghana, he took this drink called Shaka. The name is Shaka, and he wanted to try it, which means you wanted to get shocked. Anyway, so he tried Shaka. It's a drink, and it's a mixture or a concoction of, I think, weed and some hard liquor. And he was warned not to take too much, but hey, as British as he is, he was, experimental with it. He took much more than necessary, and he got the shock off his life. You can check out that interview. And you can't talk about Ghana music without talking about Sarkodie. We do a lot of rap in Ghana. Like the Asaka boys, they do pure hip-hop drill music. And it also goes on like that. Now, constitution and politics. Ghana is sometimes known as the Fourth Republic because in 1992, the country adopted its fourth constitution to recognize the state into a constitutional republic. Because after Dr. Kwame Nkrumah was ousted, coup d'etat, Ghana went through a series of military rule, and it finally got free in 1992. So since the year 1992, Ghana has become a democratic country, holding elections every 4 years to elect its president. How many political parties do we have in Ghana? You'll be shocked. Ghana has 29 political parties recognized by the Ghana Electoral Commission, and I hope some of these parties will be merged to add to the competition. Mostly it's highly contended by two of the political parties, the NPP and the NDC. Currently, the president is from the NPP. The NPP is the National Patriotic Party, and the NDC is the National Democratic Congress. Democratic, patriotic. So it kind of plays into their, how it looks like. An interesting fact, since 1992, anytime the NDC wins, the Democrats win. And anytime the NPP wins, the Republicans win. Except this the last election, of course, where the NPP won, but the Democrats won. I'm not going to go into the details. This is the Frank Shitter Show, where we talk about cultures and history from Ghana and relate them with cultures and history from around the world. Let's move on.